Well, welcome back to another Free Tip Friday. Give you a little kind of recap here. Went over grip initially, so now we know how to hold it. We talked about how we want to stand. We talked about alignment a little bit. Now we talked about posture and everything else. So now we're at the point where we're going to start moving the club. And so the important thing to know when we're starting moving the club is kind of what makes the ball do what it does. So for those of you that are just getting started, there's all sorts of different shot shapes. So if you watch a lot of golf on TV, you'll hear people talk about, a fade or a slice or a hook, or hopefully not a duck hook. Sounds kind of funny, but it's not. When it happens to you, it's not that funny, trust me. So today what we're going to talk about is kind of how your swing path is going to affect the ball differently. So for a right-handed golfer like myself, if I hit, you'll hear people talk about a cut or a fade or a slice. That is where, if I'm hitting the ball down the range, the ball is going to the right. So if you imagine like this little, I'm showing you with my hand, ball is going to go out and to the right. So it's going to finish right of where your target line is. That is either a fade, a cut, or a slice. Now, the opposite would be, you'll hear a draw or a hook, or again, a duck hook. Now, for a right-handed golfer, that means the ball is going left of your, where your intended target line is. So if I hit it and it starts going straight and the ball turns over, that's the other thing you'll hear people say, it turns over, it's going left. That's either going to be a draw hook or hopefully, the duck hook. That's the one that goes left real fast. And so what we're trying to do is we want the ball to slightly go left. So what we're trying to do is get better control. Okay, so the interesting thing about it is it's all physics. It's all how the ball spins that makes it do that. So if you look down here at the ball here, what I'll show you is for a right-handed golfer, if the club head comes like this from the inside and it hits the inside part of the ball, so that's this inside portion of the ball, and then the club releases, that's going to make the ball spin this way. So it's going to spin counterclockwise, which is going to make the ball go left. Now, the opposite happens is if I come and the club is coming a little bit over the top and I catch the outside of the ball, so this portion, so this is the middle of the ball, inside and outside. So a little bit more on the outside of the ball and the face stays a little bit more open, that's going to make the ball spin clockwise or make it cut or fade. Now, what shape is best? That's a huge debate. So some people play a ball that draws. Most of the pros that you see on TV nowadays are trying to hit the ball with a little bit of a cut or a fade. And the reason that they do that is the ball tends to land softer. It doesn't want to, when you hit a hook, it's just like if you ever watched tennis, like a top spin lob or a top spin shot where you see it hit and go really fast. That's what happens when you put top spin on the golf ball. Whereas if you're hitting a cut, the ball is spinning up in the air and it typically lands a little softer. So you'll see more people, especially at the advanced levels, that opt more for that, either that soft cut or a little bit of a fade. For me, I grew up, I always played a little bit of a draw or a little bit of a hook. That's just because that's the way that I see the golf course. I think, over time, I've fought myself and tried to hit a fade, and I do more off the tee than I do with my regular irons. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to find a shot shape that just naturally fits your swing, and then that's just the one you're going to have to kind of live with. There's no sense fighting it. It's like, well, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And so that's kind of where we're at. So for me, I'm going to show you kind of there's about 4 different shots in golf. Okay. So we're going to have, the first one we're going to talk about is club head is going to come from the inside with a square face, but the club is going out and away from our target line. This is our target line. We want that club head normally to go right down our target line and release out straight. Now, if the club falls inside and it goes from inside to outside, so I'm going across that line with a square face. That's called a push or a block. That's where the ball just starts right and goes right, and you know, it doesn't have any hopes of coming back, okay? The other side of that is, if we come down the line and we get here and we're nice and square and we got a square face and the club goes right down the middle and releases, you know, that ball's gonna go pretty straight, okay? Now, if we do that same thing from the inside, where we come from the inside and we hit the inside of the golf ball, but we have a shut face, what's gonna happen is we're gonna put a lot of spin on that ball, and that ball is gonna hook quite a bit, maybe even duck hook. So the farther inside you come and the face is shut, the ball's gonna hook. Now, if we come from the inside with the square face, that's just more of a block. The ball's gonna go right and stay right. Okay, now we know what straight is. So now the other one is, if we get here, instead of being inside, we come over the top, which you'll hear people talk about, where the club comes across this line or over the top with a square face. That is called a pull. So it's not really hooking, so it doesn't have a bunch of spin on it. It just goes left and not coming back. Now, if I come over the top with the open face, now we get the spin and the ball wants to, you know, it wants to slice. So we have straight, we have blocks, we have hooks, we have pulls, and we have slices. And all of it is in relativity to this line, which, like I said the last time, these are critical components when you practice. You gotta have your alignment sticks down so that you can get feedback. So when I practice and I'm out here and I'm hitting the balls, this is what I'm looking at. I'm trying to see, when I set up, I'm getting my nice setup like we talked about in our last video. We're gonna get comfortable. Now I can see where that club, when I come down, where that club is. So if the club is here, I'm right where I need to be to keep turning and release the club down the fairway. Now, if I swing and I stop myself here, and I see that this makes a big X, so the club is way behind me and inside, that at least I know. And same way, if I get like this, it makes an X the other way. Now I know that the club is getting over the top. So this allows you to kind of have that little check. So I check every single time. So if you came out and watched me play or practice, you know, and I like to practice a lot, I check my swing a couple times. I check it here. What I want is, I want this club to be just about in line with the one along my feet. Maybe the club head a little bit even outside of that line, okay? And I'm not getting it back there like this. You see the difference? Watch. Like this. See where my shoulder is? No. What we want to do is we want to feel like we're going to just turn it back. So now you can see I'm almost, and by the time I get to the top of my swing, my back is almost down range. So it's almost pointed at my target. If we just do it with our arms, we're just not gonna get very much power. We're not gonna get what we need. So it doesn't take much effort to just turn it back. So I'll check it here. Now, when I take my full swing, if I stop, I'm also checking it there. You can also see that, again, it's either on that line, it can be slightly inside that line, maybe slightly outside, but we don't want to see wild swings. We don't want it inside or outside. Again, the more pronounced one way or the other it is, the more crooked the ball is going to go. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that ball to go as straight as possible. So each time we swing, we know where it is. So again, get your alignment sticks out, get organized, feel comfortable. We've gone through the grip, stance, setup, posture, everything. Now is our chance to hit the golf ball. Lots of components. We're going to go into maybe more full swing next time, but I wanted you to understand the mechanics of what makes the ball do what it does. So inside out is a block, inside with a square face is a hook, outside with a square face is a pull or a cut. Or if you're fortunate enough to ever hit one straight, hopefully like this, that's exactly what we're after. That club is down the line, nice and square on the way through. Let that club head release down the driving range or fairway or whatever. But we'll talk more about that next time. I appreciate you stopping back. Hopefully that helps you understand how the ball flies, and we'll catch you again on our next episode.